All right, who wants to start it?
Hello. And welcome back to another episode of the Ultimate Lore Podcast. Today we delve into the depths of Arda, most specifically Middle Earth.
Yes. What do you want to start out with?
Let's start with the creation. Let's just start at the beginning and work through.
Wait, we have to start how updated we are.
I mean,
It's a lot. There's a lot. That's what I'm saying. So we're not really. Am I probably farther than some? Yes, but if you're a real one, I'm not anywhere close. Like a real, true fan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like.
Even to be able to read through the Silmarillion and like understand what's going on without somebody explaining it to you.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, I can understand it.
Yeah.
I'm just it's slow going for me just because it reads so.
Like the Old Testament. That's like a lot of the descriptions I've seen were like it reads like the Old Testament just in the way that Tolkien wrote.
So basically, I mean, for some people who don't know, there's the Hobbit book, and then there's the 3 Lord of the Ring books, and then usually what people do next is the Silmarillion, and that's where I'm at. So I've read the Hobbit, I've read all the Lord of the Rings, I'm on the Silmarillion. There's way more after that. I'm not even halfway through the Silmarillion. There's like the Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle Earth, a whole bunch of other ones, the Children of Húrin, the History of Middle Earth, the Fall of Numenor, and other tales from the Second Age, Bodleian Library ones. It's like Tolkien's a book about him making it, I guess.
Yeah,
like
so
the maker of
correct me if I'm wrong, but the Silmarillion starts with the creation and it ends with the end of the Third Age, right?
I didn't want to like look up more of the end since I'm not that far yet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's basically the start with Eru, who makes everything. No, not Eru.
Eru Ilúvatar.
So he makes I don't know how to pronounce it. Ainur. The Ainur. I don't know, but those are the holy ones. He makes them. Mm-hmm. And then in the beginning of it, they're all making music and everyone's music like goes together. But then there's this one and he makes a crazy like part of the music, a different harmony thing that
he attempts to change it.
Changing
to create
and it attacks
his own.
the other ones and it gets kind of crazy.
But
so
then Eru corrects it.
He corrects it, puts it all back together, but then he sends them. And this is when they become you can call them the Valar. And there's like the 15 most powerful ones he sends down to Middle Earth or so. I think that's where it is. Yeah. And then out of those 15, the most powerful is Manwë and Melkor. Melkor is that one that made the crazy music, who was trying to be.
One thing that is specific about Tolkien's writing in the Silmarillion is that with each change of, I guess, scenery, like when they're before they go into Ea, which is the universe, they are the Ainur, and whatever. And then when they go into Ea, they become the Maiar.
No. The Valar / Maiar, because
Well, see, that's where the names get kind of weird.
There's the Valar and the Maiar. The Maiar are lesser Valar. They were there to help the Valar. The Valar is there to help get the world ready according to the music plan, blueprint, basically. The Maiar are their helpers. So the Maiar...
So from what I understand, there's like the powerful ones like the Valar, but the Maiar are still...
pretty powerful.
They're on the same level, but it's because of the change of scene that they're named the Maiar, right? When they go to Middle Earth, they go to Arda, that's when they become...
They were meant to be specifically helpers of the Valar.
Okay.
So they're not as powerful, no. Through other means later on, because Sauron is a Maiar, and he becomes pretty powerful. It's because he does these things that gathers different power and stuff when he's down there that can rival sometimes some of the...
Well, Sauron was given his power from Morgoth.
Yeah, from Melkor, Morgoth, yeah.
Yeah, well, Melkor...
is Morgoth.
Before, and then when he goes to Middle Earth, becomes Morgoth.
Yes.
Yeah.
He kind of gets his power from him a little bit because he falls with him. So in the Valar, the main ones, there's the fallen ones, Melkor, and he takes some of the fallen Maiar with him, which is the the Balrogs and
Yep,
Sauron
Balrogs,
and them.
yeah.
They fall with him and they do bad stuff or whatever. Then there's the main Valar, like Manwë, and then there's a whole bunch of them and their wives and everything. And they're trying to set everything up, making the earth, and there's one specific one. She's the main ones for plants. There's blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Melkor, during one of the ages, like, fights him and almost takes over. But then the last Valar, who wasn't sent yet, and his name is Tulkas. He is his power is war and power. So Melkor was kind of winning, even though Manwë's pretty powerful too. And he's the head of the Valar that got sent down there. And they're all kind of fighting him. But they kind of got, like, what's the word? Blindsided by Melkor when he was doing this stuff. That's why they kind of, like, they're just as strong, but then Eru sent Tulkas down. And that's when Melkor was like, oh. And kind of, like, stepped back at another time. Then he fought another war. There was, like, 3 or 2 different times that Melkor, like, really kind of took power different times. But after the main one was when Tulkas came down and joined the other Valar. And they were like, his main fight is war. His main power is war.
And
power. And he scared Melkor.
That started before they even went into, like, the universe, because Melkor went into what they called the Void, and he tried to find this thing called the Flame Imperishable, is what Iluvatar uses to create. So Melkor tries to find it in the Void, but it ends up
that's before. No, but
that's before, because
but when Tulkas was sent, no, that was after.
They're
already on. They're already on the.
I'm just saying, for background knowledge, like,
oh yeah,
they're headbutting.
He just
like,
been doing a bunch of stuff.
The main creator and Melkor were always like, Melkor's always trying to gain power.
He's always trying to fight Manwë, which is not the main creator, but the main one that Eru decided to be the head of them, that he sent down, is Manwë.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just as strong as Melkor, but sometimes, like I said, when he gets blindsided, or Melkor does things like, in another age of the fighting, Melkor gets Ungoliath. And she's like this big kind of spider thing. Don't get her confused with the spider one in the movies. That's actually her ancestor is Ungoliath. No one actually really knew where she came from. They didn't know. Like, Melkor didn't make her. She was just this beast thing that came. I'm sure Eru probably made her, but he gets her on his side. They steal the light. These 2, like, lantern light things that the Valar made to help, like, steady everything. And she gets this power, and then Melkor and her kind of fighting about it, and he's kind of scared of her himself. Like, it's a whole thing.
Those are the lighted trees, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's all the light in Middle-earth comes from those 2.
They steal it. Melkor and Ungoliath take it. Ungoliath eats it, and Melkor's like, uh-oh. Like, this thing's unhinged. Even though she's supposed to be on my side, she's unhinged. And so he, like, fights with her and all this stuff. I forget what happens with her, but, yeah, there's a whole thing of her, and she's the ancestor of the one in the movies that Samwise kills later on. But just to show there was even something that even they were like, where did this beast, it was just a dark beast creature that came out of, they don't even know.
The depths.
They don't know.
Who knows?
And it was, and Melkor was trying to get her on his side, and she kind of was power hungry.
One really cool thing that I learned about the Silmarillion is that the elves were never born. They were created with the world. So they were technically the first beings, but they weren't woken up until, like, hundreds or thousands of years later. But technically, the dwarves are made first.
No,
they were made first.
Yeah, and they were made by one of the Valar.
Yeah,
that one Valar guy that made them. It starts with an A. I cannot remember him.
Mm-hmm. But he falls in love with the one of water, or the one of something vegetation or plants or something. He falls in love with the other one. Hides that he made the dwarves.
Them, but they find out and they get mad at him. Yeah. But the thing is, he himself makes the dwarves, and I forget what his power was. Mostly, I think it had to do
earth.
With
rock.
Was it earth or was it?
It was like earth, rock, mountains.
I know he's the Valar who made the dwarves himself. So the dwarves aren't even like. What is his name?
No, they were his creation. So the Valar have like
they got mad at him. For that.
Few of the Valar have obsession with creating.
Aule. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Aule. He was impatient for the rising of the elves and the men, the children of Iluvatar. So he made his dwarves. he taught them their language.
But then Iluvatar comes down and he says, "All right, we're gonna put these things to sleep," and they go to sleep in their minds until it's their time to be awoken. Mm-hmm. And then the elves are awoken. And then it goes into the whole thing of
crafting of substances, of of the world.
Yeah. Mountains, rock, the mines. I mean, that's why the dwarves
Yes, yeah,
live
yeah.
underground.
Yeah. He made the dwarves. Later on, the men finally get woken up too. But this is way after, like, the elves already had their, like, they were fighting a little bit with, some of them left the Valar because they got mad at the Valar, and some of them, like, got mad at Melkor. Then they were fighting over the Silmarils that are in the thing. And then there was, like, which one was it? Fëanor or for something. Some of the elves, they went off on this thing, and they're trying to go find Melkor and kill him themselves, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, so there was like, it was 3 or 4 sects of elves that kind of, they all spread apart. You know, some, and this is how Melkor Morgoth takes them and turns them into orcs.
Yep, he takes some of them. He
corrupts
makes some orcs.
them, distorts them.
Some of them are wandering around. Some of them are trying to find him because they have this vendetta against him. Some of them stay with the Valar and kind of like get led by them. Some of them go to the sea, and then the men come up, wake up, and I'm around there when the men are getting woken up. So I'm not. That's as much.
That's got to
far
be
as
like
I've
the
gotten into
second age or something,
Silmarillion.
right?
I can't even remember
Because
which
that's
one.
when the towers started
Somewhere.
being constructed.
At this point, Melkor has Sauron, and he's like the head of one of his little fortresses. He has like 2 fortresses. One's called Autumno and Angbar or something. And Sauron's like in charge of one of those places. So at that time, they're like still in league together at the point of where I'm at in the books. But and the men are being awoken too right now.
And
But-
then there's like the battle or whatever happens, and Morgoth gets taken and put in the halls of what's
he's
it called?
like-
The halls of something.
kind of imprisoned, banished thing a few
Yeah.
times. One of the times he comes out and pretends he's like good again and I'm gonna help everyone, and he starts giving like them ideas on how to, I forget what his
Yeah.
other power one of his
But
was.
once he gets like banished, that's when Sauron goes underground and he starts.
Yeah, then all his
kind
like
of
people
formulating his
they all
plans.
hide, and some of them kind of break apart from him anyways
Mm-hmm.
because he's losing power because he fought the Valar again after another war. There was with him. He did it a lot. He did it a few times. But we've watched all the movies.
So
I've
is
read
that
those books.
Sauron created the rings, correct?
Yeah.
So
I haven't gotten there though, so
I think he created them to like keep. It was almost like being a spy. Like the rings acted as a spy for the different creatures of Middle Earth, right?
I'm not gonna comment on any of that yet. I mean, other than what we know from the movies, it's kind of vague,
Yeah.
really, about the rings, and I haven't gotten to any of that in the books yet. I will one day, so I don't really want to go into that.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
I said, I'm just in the beginning of the Silmarillion, but yeah, and so we've seen all the movies. Except there is actually an older one that we've never watched. It's like this really old, like cartoon kind of one
Oh,
that
yeah.
we've never seen.
I know
So
what you're
really, we
talking
can't
about.
say we're fully updated with that either, because there's that.
Nothing to do with Peter Jackson. It's just like a standalone
It's
cartoon.
way from way back then. It's
84 or something. It's really old.
but I mean, one day we should probably watch it. If,
Probably. Yeah.
So get far on all that.
Rings of Power season 2 is next year.
Oh, geez. So, Rings of Power. I like it because sure, I'll like it. I know I don't take it as like they're trying to rewrite anything that Tolkien did or whatever, blah, blah. But did they really stick to a lot of his stuff? No, not really. Not at all. And that's what a lot of people got mad at. Is it beautiful, though? Like, some of the scenery? Yeah, it's great. But, like, was Galadriel really, like, would she have acted like that? Really? No. Sauron and Galadriel, like, almost get together in Rings of Power.
Yeah,
Basically,
it's all kinda...
she was only ever mentioned, like, once of Sauron ever knowing her in the books. And I don't know if it was in the Silmarillion or in the other books that I haven't read yet, that it was ever mentioned that he knew of her or something, and she was the only one that he was, or not the only one, but he was kind of scared of her. That's all. There was, like, one quick line I've read.
Well, Elrond is mentioned a lot in there. Is his character... Is his character in Rings of Power true to...
Oh, I don't know yet, because, like I said, I haven't gotten that far, but I did read about the Galadriel one, just because I was, like, watching the Rings of Power, and I'm like, ooh, I would love it if they got together, because
Yeah, of course.
enemy to lovers trope is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking it up, and then I'm like, oh, crap, everyone's saying, like, no, that's not even what Galadriel would ever do. did they even ever really know each other? Was it even ever said in Tolkien's work? There was one line maybe mentioned with them. There's no way that he would have wanted to marry her or be with her, make her his queen, like is implied in the Rings of Power.
Because he just wants power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the Rings of Power, he
And
like
she's
likes
not
her
like
and wants her to join him.
Yeah, she's not like a leader of anything, right?
She kind of like, she's like one of their warrior things and was sent out to, in the Rings of Power, which I'm going to wonder, was this in some of the books too, she was sent to like get rid of the darkness thing that killed her brother or whatever at one point. So she was kind of, but like
she
I
was,
said,
yeah, she's a fighter.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that they people like delved into how she acted and how she fought and stuff is not really necessarily like how Galadriel would have, and how she's depicted in the books and in the later movies, I guess.
Yeah, because in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, she doesn't act that way at all.
I mean, she fights and stuff, but it's
yeah, but
just
it's more with
different.
magic than it is with
The sword and
combat.
stuff. But I mean, she was younger, so maybe you get a certain amount of power as you're older that you don't necessarily need a sword anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, yeah.
That's possible, but it was not just that. It was other things that when you have to do like a really deep dive that I did like one night, and I was just like reading it. I'm like, makes point. Like that's a good point. Galadriel wouldn't have done that. She wouldn't have really acted like that or said that way, or she's not as politically savvy in Rings of Power with some of the stuff that she fumbles upon. But I think they're trying to say, oh, it's because she's young and she's still learning. But it's like, but really, Galadriel is just
But she's really
basically
not-
a beacon of wisdom. So she would, even as when she was younger, should have known.
Right, she's really not that young, though.
And that's true. Because elves live for a long time.
Centuries. Well, they're immortal. Not immortal, but because they can die, but they don't die from age.
Yeah. So that's what they were saying in the thing. They were like, no, that's why a lot of people didn't like Rings of Power. But I mean, I liked it because I'm like, oh, I would love to pretend that Sauron
you're
was
just a-
kind of
you're a
hot
fan,
and so
you're
was Galadriel, and that they kind of liked each other.
Yeah,
cool.
you're a casual
but then,
fan
I
of
mean,
it.
really, in the he's just an eye in the movies people really know. But I mean, he can like turn into different shapes and stuff back then when he had like the power to become like actual like people and turn into things, because he was like kind of losing, like didn't have a lot of power, and then was getting the power, and then wanted the ring to get more back his power, because he used to be like whole, not just like an eye thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you see it kind of in Hobbit when he comes as a necromancer. He only has like a man body, like a humanoid body.
Galadriel. Cha! Go back to where? I don't know. Go away. Something. I forgot what she does.
Did it ever say in Rings of Power who the Valar was that came down with the hobbits, crashed into the...
Yeah, and so there's that, and it's like, I don't think that was in any of Tolkien's work either. Like,
Did it
who
ever
was
say
that?
who he was?
Crap. I think it was supposed to be... Was it supposed to be Gandalf?
I know a lot of
Rings of
people were
Power?
saying that, but...
Yeah. I can't remember. Because I did watch Rings of Power, and I did watch it all, but was I that invested in it? Not really.
Just the one elf.
Except for, the one elf, too. The one fighter elf. So, yeah. Definitely. I think they were saying it was supposed to be Gandalf. I cannot remember right now, so don't quote me on any of that.
Let me check my notes.
Who?
Do you know anything about the Seeing Stones?
No. I don't think I'm
Because the
gotten to
only
any of
time we
that
see
stuff
them in
yet.
the movies is with Saruman. He has the one.
Mm-hmm. Well, kind of. I mean, they mention him in the books.
There's supposed to be 7 of them.
Oh. They probably mentioned him in the Lord of the Rings books that I read. I just can't remember, like, exactly. I mean, I know that Pippin, like... Yeah, he was, like, drawn to it and stuff, and...
Yeah, I'm not sure,
Whatnot.
like, of their power. And
Can't remember that part. And, like, Gandalf didn't want to, like, mess with them or touch it or whatever.
yeah, 'cause it's kind of dark magic. What you got?
Okay. Who do you think, since you haven't read the books, but you've watched the movies and you've looked some stuff up.
Who's
Who
the
do you?
most powerful?
Who is the most powerful?
The creator of Luthor.
Okay.
He controls everything. It's just a...
Let's do the most powerful in the movies that you know of then.
Most powerful in the movies that I
Mhm.
know of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a toss-up. Like, Galadriel obviously is very powerful in her elven magic.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's, like, stooped Gandalf at some points. But Gandalf is also not powerful, but, you know, he's, like, wisdom. Like, he has the wisdom. He can fight in that way.
I guess a lot of people would probably say, like, between, like, Sauron and Gandalf and the Balrogs and stuff. But, I mean, because they are all technically the same Maiar.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, they were all the same Maiar, but then they gained their powers and strengthened themselves in different ways. Like, in Gandalf's, he was a pretty strong Maiar as Gandalf the Grey. But then when he became the White,
Defeated
when he
the
took over
Balrog and...
Saruman's spot, not only does he have the wisdom, but he's also being the chief now of those ones that Saruman used to be. So, like, that's elevating him more. And then Sauron, you got him with the rings. That elevates him. That blah, blah. The Balrogs, I mean, enough that Gandalf, like...
Had a hard time.
Had a hard time with them, but, I mean, he came back as something even stronger. So, really, did he have a hard time?
Technically dies, but still...
But, not really, because then he comes back.
Dies in
Kinda.
the way that
In a way.
Valar can, or Maiar can.
Somewhat. And then becomes, like, a chief. The chief takes over more power. So, like I said, but technically, are they all three the same thing to start off? Yes. Sauron, Gandalf, the Balrogs, they were all the same. They are all Maiar.
Yes.
Gain power through other different ways, or extra power, what you would say.
Do you hope to see, like, Valar in any adaptation? Like, cinematic adaptation?
I don't know. If they're going to make stuff from before, way before.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they could pull anything they want from
Those.
the Lord of the Rings Bible that's sitting in front of us.
But if you want to do, like, the most powerful in the books, there's some crazy characters that people don't know that should have been in the movies, like Tom Bombadil, things like that, that he was pretty powerful. Even though he
What was he, first of all?
we don't know. No, I don't know. No one really knows. But in his, like, realm, in his forest area, he can basically do, like, anything, whatever he wants, and things like that. And then he also held the ring in the book and was like, oh, haha, laughing, gave it back like it was nothing. Didn't affect him, didn't whatever. And he protected the hobbits when they came into his forest at one point, and, like, helped them and took care of them and stuff a few times or whatever. And people were like, who the heck is this Tom Bombadil guy? And he can literally just do whatever. And he, like, sings, and he can sing to plants and have them do things, and it's, like, crazy. He's a pretty powerful guy. And it's said he's been there for a long time. He's been on this in Middle-earth, like, long.
How long?
So even, like, Gandalf and them know him, but
Doesn't
long.
say where he came from or anything?
It might have gone into it a little deeper, but I can't remember that part. I just know that he was, like, crazy weird.
Oh, another cool thing is, other than Mount Doom, the only thing that can destroy a ring is the breath of a dragon. The fire of a dragon. So those are the only two sources of, I guess, destruction for the rings. Which, doesn't that kind of make dragons, like, on the... Where does it put dragons on the power scale?
Yeah, who are the dragons? But back to Tom Bombadil real quick, just because I read it. He is intentionally unexplained.
Oh.
And he is just powerful.
Now, is that something Tolkien explained, or his son, or what?
It's just, I guess he is intentionally unexplained. Tolkien intentionally did not say. He's a master of wood, water, hill, possesses powers, able to full control over his domain. So he can do anything he wants in his domains, which was that specific, like, area.
So you kind of just have to
He's
chalk
not a
that up
Valar, he's not a Maiar. Some speculate maybe he was. Who, like, kind of left the others or something. Who knows who he is, but he's...
Well, he was put there by someone, just who, because, like I said, the Valar have this obsession with creation, or some Valar have this thing in them that wants to be like Eru, or they want to make their own.
He's just... So anyways, back to your dragons, though. I mean, how powerful are they really if one was killed just by the guy from the Fish Village place, or Lake Town? Yeah. Really? So I wouldn't say they're... I say that, yeah, they're powerful, but I mean, like, if you want to compare them to, like, Valar and Maiar, and Balrog's probably not.
Well, he could have been just blinded by his own greed.
True.
Because we all know dragons are attracted to gold, shiny stuff. So what exactly was the stone in the Hobbit movies?
The Arkenstone?
Yeah. Like, why does it hold this power over the dwarves?
I don't know. It was just a jewel there that was in the heart of the mountain.
The heart of the mountain, you said?
Mm-hmm. It was in the heart of the mountain.
Because they just stumbled on it while mining. It wasn't like something that was passed down. It eventually was passed down, but it...
became a family heirloom. Is a great white gem.
It drove 2 generations mad.
Drove them crazy. But, I mean, dwarves are kind of known to do that with kind of treasure and stuff. So I'm sure if that's they make it their heirloom, and it's this glowing, pretty, beautiful gem, like, I'm sure it could make them go crazy.
So we have the orcs, and then we have the goblins. And we know the goblins aren't orcs, but they were made from mixing orc blood with something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then they make them like little sacks.
Yeah. Harvest them from the...
And then, in the books too, you'll read that Thorin doesn't actually kill... In the Hobbits, he kills that one main orc, the White Orc. That's not even who kills him in the books. Like, he was already dead by that time, and he was killed by, I forget who it was, someone else. Maybe it was one of Thorin's family members before, but he wasn't.
I thought you said it was, yeah.
Yeah. The White Orc was killed way before that. I think it's like his son, who was also in the movies, but then killed later. I think that's the main one that later on was, like, in the books, terrorizing them, kind of. But, yeah, the White Orc is not even... like the Hobbit movies, so the White Orc is not the orc that he kills, and Tauriel's not real. She's not in the books.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, actually.
They had to have a woman, though. I mean, nowadays, have to have some representation. So
this is where my theory of
put her in.
What is it?
I'm not mad about it.
What is it? The the Kevin Bacon thing, like the 5 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
This is my 5 degrees of the Marvel universe. Because she is Wasp.
Oh, yeah. And then you got Elrond is the Red Skull.
Yeah, Elrond's Red Skull. I'm sure there's more that we just...
Gandalf is in X-Men.
Oh, Gandalf's Magneto. Yep.
Like, there's a bunch. There's probably more.
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I can think of.
Okay, so next question. Who would we be? And realistically, and who would we want to be?
I would be an elf 100%.
Even though you're wearing a Hobbit cloak right now?
Yeah, but, you didn't want to be an elf with me. You didn't want me to be an elf with you. But I have a strange attraction to the dwarves just because I've always loved Gimli's character from the very beginning.
And do you like the Hobbits? Or the dwarfs in the Hobbit movies?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I don't really see... Well, I don't know if I see you as a dwarf or not. Realistically, I'd want to be a she-elf. What would I be? Probably a human at Lake Town that, like, sold fish on the side. And...
No, I would probably, just by personality, be a hobbit.
Yeah, you'd probably be a hobbit.
Yeah.
And I'm a Lake Town girl.
I like to be comfortable in my hole.
Watching everything.
Left alone.
My house gets burned by the dragon. It's like, just gotta rebuild now. Did I survive that? Yes. But did my house burn down and all my stuff? Yeah.
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 Distress.
Just always something going on in my life as a human Lake Town person. But would I want to be a she-elf? Yeah. Or I would be realistically a she-elf, but not like an up there one. Just like the ones that, I don't know, do some kind of...
What kind of elf?
Like, okay, so the ones in the Hobbit movies where, like, Legolas and all them live in those caves and stuff like that, and sometimes they, like, drink wine down there in the thing, like, yeah, I'd probably just be, like, one of the workers that worked in one of the little winery restaurant things or something. I don't know. Down there. Like, I was the one that, like, I was doing work and I seen them marching these dwarves and I'm like, oh, something's happening.
You couldn't.
And then I went and told all the other people, like, hey, guess what? There's dwarves in our prison right now.
Yeah, and you remember when the dwarves went to eat with them and they're like, where's the meat? And they're throwing the lettuce everywhere.
That's a different elven race, people. That's...
Oh, am I getting mixed up?
Yeah, because I'm talking about
saying,
in like, the Hobbit, the one where Legolas and his dad, Thranduil, are different from over there where Elrond and them live.
But that's where they were being held, was in Elrond's.
I mean, I would love to be over there where... No, they went there. They went to Elrond's one for guidance. Later on, they get captured in Thranduil's domain and area.
Yeah, because they hate those elves. The dwarves hate those elves because they didn't help them whenever the...
They kind of hate all the elves, the dragon but mostly them, yeah.
Whenever the dragon originally attacked.
Because at first when they went to Elrond, they were like, ugh, elves. But then they were like, well, alright. But then when they went to their one, they were like, because Thranduil has jewels that were in the treasure, that were his, like, wife's necklace and stuff. So, yeah. Like, they all kind of have a little history with, like, Legolas's dad, for sure.
Which
those specific
He is kind
dwarves.
of a dick, though.
He is, but him fighting on his little elk moose thing or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a moose.
One of the best scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, when they finally come to help, because they always do.
That also, yeah. When they were like, "Where are the elves?" and then they like the elves hop over the dwarfs and help. Like, also another great scene.
That is a good battle scene, though.
Also another great scene when the elves show up in the Lord of the Rings movie, which is not in the books.
The battle of
when I told you the other day when we were watching it, and I was like, really, he's Haldir or whatever, doesn't die like that. He's only mentioned in the books real quickly, and he didn't bring the elves to help in that part of that war. But in the movies, it was cool because they were like all really scared, and then the elves show up and they're like, oh, cool. But what is explained is that was kind of an homage to like all the times the elves did sometimes come and help humans. They kind of just put it all together in one thing, put it in that movie there, because throughout the books of Tolkien's books and his wars and all that stuff, there are times that the elves showed up once in a while, gave him some men, and showed up. So they kind of, and it was several times, they kind of put it together in the movie. Did that happen in the book, in that specific battle? No. But is it trying to put it together as those few times that they did?
Right,
yes. Yeah. But Haldir, specifically didn't die like that.
No, because he didn't even really have a role.
Because he's mentioned in the books a little bit, but he wasn't. Yeah. Sorry, this Ent drought is making me have the burps.
It's a lot of carbonation. Did you put sparkling water in it, too?
I put, so if you read the books, Merry and Pippin, they go to Fangorn Forest. And when they're there, the Ents, which are the big tree creatures that they make friends with, give them this drink, a drought, as you will. And it basically, like, replenishes them, gives them energy, and also makes them taller. So when they go back to the Shire, they're the tallest hobbits. And Merry becomes one of the tallest hobbits because he drank this Ent drought. Yeah.
Forever?
Mm-hmm. It's like a magical drink that the Ents drink.
How do they fit into their holes?
I'm not saying they got, like, super tall, but they got a little bit taller.
Gotcha.
So, I made my own Ent drought, and I tried to follow a recipe on there, but they didn't have alcohol, so I was like, all right, I'm going to make one with alcohol. The ingredients called for sparkling water. I'm like, I'll just make it with champagne instead. And then it wasn't that sweet because it had like honey, but it didn't have, you put a lot of honey, and you had to like juice your apple, your cucumber, and then with the honey and have like mint leaves and like muddle the mint to make the taste and then strain the mint and then put like sparkling water. But I was like, I'm going to do all that, but I'm going to do champagne. Then it wasn't that sweet and the honey wasn't that much, even though I put a lot in there. So I'm like, all right, I'll add simple syrup also. So yeah, so it's making me kind of burp.
Sweet anyways.
It's good. It definitely tastes like apple, cucumbery, mint. It's like what they drank. Maybe I'll be taller at the
You'll
end of
get a
this.
little taller.
Not that I want to. I don't care. I like my size.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, but Mary was tall after he drank it. It replenished them. It's like magical drink, but it's mostly for Ents. So they just gave it to them. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and say, hold on, let me finish eating this.
Your elven bread, your lambus bread.
Mm-hmm. That realistically, I probably would have been a hobbit now. Not a person on Lake Town, and not an elf. Staying in a little hole, eating food all day. I would have been a hobbit that went on an adventure. Probably not, because I'm not lucky. Like Gandalf would have just like skipped me. And I would have been one of the ones that like watched it all happen. Like I want to go, but
Yeah.
would I have been a hobbit? Yeah, all cozy in my little hole, reading books and eating food.
That's why I said you wouldn't have been an elf, because of the food.
Yeah, yep, I would have been an elf. Or not an elf. I mean, I would have been a hobbit. For sure.
Where's the meat?
Second breakfast. Like, yeah. I do that all day long. I mean,
Reading books by the fire.
I would have been a hobbit. So we gotta re-clarify that.
Hobbits are kind of greedy, though.
With that, with their comfort and their stuff, but not like when it comes to, like, necessarily... Well, kind of, because a lot of them was taking Bilbo's stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
His spoons and his this and that.
And Bilbo himself was very
Yeah.
particular about, like, when the dwarves came in. Well, they did kind of, like, bash his door in and say, oh, where's your
I'm going to
food?"
say, like, maybe over their stuff and over their hobbit things and hobbit stuff within each other.
Yeah.
But then when it comes out to, like, everything else, maybe they would have been like, oh, I ain't even going to touch nothing about no dragons, treasure, most of them, or whatever. You know. Oh, yeah, and we're going to go see in April, in a few weeks.
We'll be at
We're
the
going to go to Fan Expo.
Cleveland Fan
And
Expo.
hopefully we'll get to see, or maybe get a picture, or even something with either
Merry, Pippin, Sam
and
or
Frodo. They're all going to be there in Cleveland, so that's exciting.
Along with a ton of other comic book
I just
artists
hope,
and
like, we get to.
directors and...
But strictly speaking, Lord of the Rings stuff, yeah. Like, they're going to be there. And we love them, so. Sam is probably my favorite hobbit, because he is actually the true hero.
As we know.
The scene described in the book when he fights the spider. It's amazing. Like, everyone should read that. For sure.
Way different than...
I mean, it's pretty good. Like, he fights him in the movies, but, like, it's just, it's description in the books. It's like, go, Sam. You go. You know, it's just, it's different. It's good. And he's definitely a hero. He carries Frodo most of the freaking way. You know?
He carries Frodo.
He gives the ring back to him at some points. Did he think about it for a minute? Yeah, but he was like, you know?
Yeah, he has to basically force him to throw it in to the mountain, though.
Well, he didn't even.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Gollum and
Smeagol
him and, yeah.
came and grabbed it and just flew off the edge. Did you see the... Because that Gollum video game came out? Yeah. It got, like, the worst ratings.
Oh, no.
It is complete.
What was that Lord of the Rings game that we started that one time? Remember we started playing one?
Yeah, that one was
We had to
like
sneak up on them.
one of the...
It was good. What happened to that? We didn't finish that.
It was on PlayStation, and we don't have a PlayStation anymore.
Oh. Well, we gotta get one.
It was... I don't remember the name of it, but it was the one where you play as a man, and you are climbing the ranks... Or not climbing the ranks, but you are killing the orc leaders, like, from bottom of the barrel up to, like, the top of the chain of command of orcs.
Yeah, we started playing that. And then we stopped. I don't know why. I mean, if we probably started now, I probably would stick to it more.
I mean, you were pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
That's probably why you didn't want to play it. But.
Okay, so let's see. Rings of Power, we did that. Who would we be? We want, realistically. Boil 'em, mash 'em, yep. Lembas bread. So we had some on the table there. It was just sourdough bread, but we pretended. King's foil is that medicine plant, remember? I don't know why I have that written down, but when Aragorn was like, you gotta find King's foil to help draw the thing out of Frodo's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the plant that
There's
Aragorn
plants.
chews on to... Yeah. So after thinking through, like, because Destiny 2 is one of, like, the games that I play the most. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many Lord of the Rings references in that game. And there's also so many religious references. And we all know that Tolkien is rooted in Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's good friends with C.S. Lewis. They
Yeah, they were good
critiqued
friends.
each other and helped each other write.
And C.S. Lewis did the Narnia.
Yes.
If anyone didn't know who he was. Which we could do one about that. I was just rewatching those movies. And we like the book.
Yeah.
It's a really good book.
But what thought made me think of Destiny 2 is, like, you said Kingsfoil is a plant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the game, there's a resource called Queensfoil.
I would say that Lord of the Rings probably impacted society and the culture, like, way more than a lot of different kind of, like, movies and stuff. Like, it was such a big... I remember when it came out, we were kids, we were really young.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember sitting in that movie theater and watching it and being like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen anything like this before. It was such a, just, like, eye-opener of just, like, what movies could be, what a story could be. And then, you know, you're a little kid, so of course we didn't know about the books yet at this point. Like, our parents all did. They probably knew, oh, these books are pretty good. We seen it first from the movies, and then I came to the books. But, like, I remember sitting there, and I'm like, I'm watching this elf and this human and this dwarf running across these fields with this music that's just amazing. How that impacted my life since then was huge. I had a Legolas cutout poster.
Cardboard cutout.
Cardboard cutout.
Up until a few years ago, it
for
lived in our basement.
years. You know? So, I mean, I'm sure it impacted other people just as big. My whole life from then was dragons and elves. I would literally do projects in school where I would make my own world with, like, dragons and elves and things like that. I hyper-focused on that, hyper-fixated on that shit. I still do.
No, you still do.
It never stopped. So I'm saying, for me and for so many other people, yeah. And then I'm sure it probably bled out into these other games and these other books and movies.
Did.
Because from Lord of the Rings, I went on to, like, other things. From Lord of the Rings, starting Lord of the Rings, started it for me. That's where I found Eragon and just other dragons, fantasy stuff. It was stemmed from there for sure. And I've always liked elves, so yeah. It just, other elf stuff that I started reading from then and there, and it just,
I can remember
fantasy.
Seeing the very first Lord of the Rings movie with an elementary school friend, and, like, you know, we're in elementary school when it came out, and this was when Chipotle was just getting, like, established, and, like, my friend's dad took us to Chipotle, and we had these, like, you know, you're an elementary school kid, you can't finish a whole burrito, so we stuffed these burritos in our pockets and then went to the theater and was just watching Lord of the Rings, munching on a burrito.
I think we went with, like, my dad's friend Brett and all them, because they all used to play, like, Dungeons and Dragons. So,
Yeah.
of course, my dad is a king of the nerds. This is why all his kids we are all nerds.
Yeah.
We get it from him. But so was his friends. They would play Dungeons and Dragons. That's how far into this stuff my dad used to be. So watching it with them, they're all like, oh my god, this is so good. And then we're all like, what is going on? This is amazing. What are we watching? This is amazing.
It was so cool.
Watching
even
it in
the first
front of
time-
you. I wish everyone's first time to see it would have been in theaters.
Even the first time I watched through The Hobbit, like, on a small screen at home, I was like,
I love this.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so epic. It's so heroic.
great.
And these are the only movies, you know, that, especially, like, Lord of the Rings is known for, like, I got so many awards, all this stuff. There's nothing in it about, necessarily, I mean, there's a little romance between Aragorn and Arwen and him and Eowyn or whatever, but it's
politics,
not, yeah. A
it's
little
stuff
bit
like
of love,
that.
that's okay, but it's not about, there's no sex scenes in it, there's
No,
no,
you
you know,
don't
this,
need any of that.
it's just a wholesome story, you don't need any of that stuff in it. You know?
Well, yeah, but
Can
since-
those make some good movies?
because of
No.
Tolkien's background, like, he wouldn't have
True.
wrote any of that kind of stuff into it. And Peter Jackson did such a good job
I'm
of
saying for the movies
following
too, yeah,
his-
like themselves. They made a movie that
Yeah.
in a time when a lot of times sex sells or things like that.
Yeah.
And they still came out with all these awards without having to do that.
And maybe that's why, because maybe the industry was so oversaturated with this like romantical
Stuff starting.
Yeah.
Has only ever gotten worse, I would say.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
So people, it needed refreshed. The industry needed refreshed with something about magic and adventure and fighting, like
Lembas
wars
bread.
and potatoes.
Smoking weed, but not really weed.
Yeah,
oh,
hash.
okay, so I guess they kind of have weed in there, kind of.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny though. It's not. They're just smoking it, enjoying after the Ents took down Isengard, and they're just having a good old time smoking a pipe, a little bit of a pipe.
You remember when
Nothing big, nothing
Bilbo
crazy.
smokes it for the first time in the Hobbit? Was that in
When they're like blowing the smoke rings, or no?
Was it in the beginning of the Hobbit? No. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the cartoon that you referenced. Because there's a scene of the cartoon where one of the hobbits like takes this huge drag out of Gandalf's pipe, and then it comes out his ears. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. So they kind of have a little bit of drugs, but would you consider weed a drug? I don't know. They certainly didn't. Pippin and Merry didn't. It was just
Yeah.
he's like, the salted pork is particularly good, and then Gimli's like, salted pork, you say? Something. Because he was mad at them. Here you are, smoking and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, whoa. And then they go and they find Saruman hiding up in the tower. Okay, also in the books, not in the movies, Saruman and Wormtail, I'm thinking Harry Potter. Wormtongue. No, come on.
Wormtongue?
Hold on, let me look him up. The name, hold on. Yeah, Wormtongue. He's the one that took over the, well, he was working for Saruman, and he took over the Rohan people. He was controlling the king. Remember? Wormtongue. The super pale guy. Wormtongue.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
in the books, they actually get, like, banished or whatever, and they go back to the Shire. And while all the hobbits and stuff are still fighting and doing the ring stuff, they all come back. Merry, Pippin, them, and Wormtongue and Saruman taking over the Shire. They have some of them working for them, hobbits and they have men they brought in working for them, making terror on the hobbits because he was so mad at the hobbits. He went to the Shire to, like, take over.
What did the hobbits ever
Yeah,
do?
yeah. Well, because the hobbits were the ones that ultimately, the two, Merry and Pippin, were the ones who got the Ents to go to war, take down his tower. Frodo and them were the ones with the rings. So yeah, him and Wormtongue go back. And I think Wormtongue, in the end, the hobbits come back, they beat him up a little bit and stuff, and they're fighting them, they're getting rid of the guys that were, like, working for them. And then they got Wormtongue to kill Saruman. Pretty sure. I remember reading that, and I'm like, yeah, he stabs him in the back, and then he turns, is killed by an arrow. Yeah, because he ends up killing Saruman, because Saruman was, like, being still, even though, like, they were cornered, they're done, the hobbits are all there, they're like, you guys are done, they're, like, on the road or something, like, get out of here, whatever, and Saruman still tries to, like, do something to Wormtongue, and Wormtongue, like, had enough of it. He kills Saruman in the Shire. None of this was in the book. Yeah. So really.
Damn.
Yeah. I remember reading that. I'm like, oh shit. Just like when I read that the White Orc wasn't even killed by Thorin. Those two parts
So how did
just stuck
Saruman
out to
die
me.
in the movie?
Remember they found him in the tower, and then Gandalf's like, oh, and then Pippin found the little orb thing in the movies. And then, I'm trying to remember. We just watched it too.
Well, you did. I was probably not here.
I mean, how many times have I watched it? A lot. Why would I not know?
I feel like he falls out of the tower.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he falls from the Orthanc Tower, and his story
Okay,
ends.
yeah.
But in the books, it's not it. They go to the Shire after they were banished, and they go to the Shire, they F shit up, and then the hobbits come back, and they're like, what? So they didn't even come back to a happy
bastard.
Shire. They came back to, like, a messed up Shire and had to
Yeah.
clean it up themselves. One of them becomes, like, the mayor for a while. Is it Sam? I forgot. Sam or Mary, whatever. His, like, family line, whatever. They plant, like, this big tree there. All this stuff. Sam has a bunch of kids and grandkids and stuff.
Good for Sam.
Yeah. Pretty sure that's what happened in the books.
Good for him. He deserves
Him or
it.
Mary or Pip, someone becomes, like, the mayor. of course, Frodo's like, I gotta leave again. And leaves and goes to be with the elves and stuff. And then I'm pretty sure, doesn't Sam go with him too? Or something?
That I don't know.
Oh, jeez. Now we're really trying to pull my memory.
No, I've tried to stump you a few times.
It's just stuff that, like, were not that big or mentioned that I might not have thought about
Yeah.
in a while that you've stumped me on. But, like, big main things. But I'm pretty sure, like, Frodo goes and then one of the elves, or is it Sam? Sam eventually goes too, or something like that. To go with them, to be with the...
He
like,
probably
Frodo.
visits him. He's his buddy.
You can't visit and come back from when you go over to the elf thing. You cannot come back from there.
They'll make an exception for the one who backpacked the chosen one.
The Undying Lands. So Frodo goes after his wife's passing. Sam trusted the Red Book. Yeah, the Red Book. I think that's what Frodo was writing, right? Yep. Sam goes to be reunited with Frodo. He was also a ring bearer, although for a brief time he was granted passage to sail into the west, because only some of them were allowed to go. Not all hobbits can just go be with the elves in the Undying Land. They let Bilbo, they let Frodo, and then they let Sam.
Here's a question for you. Do you know who wrote the Silmarillion? Not the physical author of it, but which, like, in the story, who wrote it?
No, I don't know. Is that in the end? Because I haven't gotten to that part yet.
No, not necessarily.
No. I know,
Well, I guess not who wrote it, but
because, like, in the Hobbits and stuff, that's Bilbo writing it.
Right.
Then Frodo helps finish it, too.
Well, the
and Sam.
Silmarillion is written from the perspective of the elves.
Then maybe they tell me that at the end of it. And I'm literally only looking... How far am I in?
Oh.
I am only on page 108.
Well, I wanted to get it.
And has there been a lot of information
I
in that?
wanted to get
Yeah.
most of my information from that because
That's what I'm saying. You got to read it, but
it would
it's
make
so
me
slow
understand
going.
the other stuff more. And it did. It definitely did.
If I'm taking so slow to go through this, and I can read books in a day or two, it's not that it's not interesting. I love Lord of the Rings, as you know. It's just that I don't even know how to explain it. It takes a lot more to focus on it, and instead of, like, going a few sentences and then realizing that you kind of just drifted.
Well,
That's what kind of book this is.
if you need the Silmarillion broken down to you, shout out to the Lord of the Rings Lorecast on Apple Podcasts, because that's who I went to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not, like, not everybody's super well versed in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the least things one of the things I know the least about. So I went in there, put headphones in, and just listened. And he breaks it down so well, explains everything. It's great. I love listening to it. I didn't listen to all of it 'cause there's like 100 episodes or something, but
There's so much. There's still so many books. There's still so much I don't know. And I'm only a few pages into the Silmarillion, really.
it's a great guide because it goes from start to finish. He starts at the beginning, works his way chronologically through the whole thing.
Yeah, well, Eru, music, Melkor.
Eru and the music. That's where it all started.
Melkor's music.
Iluvatar.
Fallen Maiar. Valor, let's rebuild. Lord, let's build. Melkor, let me destroy. Ungoliant, let me eat the lights.
And there was actually 2 or 3 different versions of the Silmarillion.
Don't tell me that. I haven't even
But-
gotten through one.
No, they've never been published.
Oh.
Tolkien's son decided on this one to publish.
Okay, good. 'Cause- and the actor who plays Saruman is the only one who's actually ever met Tolkien in real life out of everyone that was in the movies.
He was old as dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Gandalf's very old too. But
that actor was the only one who ever actually met Tolkien.
that's cool. I'm sure he was.
He originally wanted to be Gandalf.
Interesting guy to talk to.
Mm-hmm. But the actor who played Saruman wanted to be Gandalf. That's what he tried out for originally. But he got Saruman instead.
What else is he in? He's in a ton of
I'm
like
sure
British
he's
stuff.
been, yeah.
He's a huge English actor.
Yeah, and that's why. And he was like, didn't he know someone in the royalty or something? Or he was royal or something? I don't even remember. Just, he was in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Isn't he Count Dooku?
Count Dooku, yeah.
Yeah.
So he wasn't as old as Gandalf.
No. He's in Sleepy Hollow. We love Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, he's in Sleepy Hollow too. Same with Uncle Vernon. Uncle Vernon's in Sleepy Hollow.
He died in 2015. Was born in 1922.
I'm always going to reference actors by the characters that they played because I
know, I
never
have to.
remember their names.
No, he's older than Gandalf's character.
No.
Gandalf guy, Ian McKellen, was born in 1939. The guy who played Saruman was born in 1922. Yeah.
If the camera wouldn't have quit working, you would have saw my face.
Yeah.
He's way older. He's almost 100 years old. Well, he's dead now, right?
Not Gandalf. He's still alive.
No.
But the other one, yeah.
Gandalf is most
Ian
certainly
McKellen.
dead.
He's still alive. He's
Oh,
84
really?
years old right now. And
Oh,
he is
okay.
still alive.
I'm thinking of Dumbledore.
Yeah.
All those old white guys start to look the same.
He starts
Past
to get
80?
a little... Christopher Lee, he is dead, though. He died in 2015.
So he was 93?
Mm-hmm.
1922, you said, right?
I don't know.
He is 93.
All right. Anything else? I think that's it.
I'm good. I gotta pee.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Squeaky chairs.
You want a sword fight for the last bit of lamb's bread?
No, I'm already eating it.
I'll take it out of your mouth.
Mm-mm.
I get sting.
I'm not an orc. It's not going to glow. Or a goblin. I'm a hobbit.
Depends. It
As you can
depends.
tell, I'm a hobbit.
Depends how you're feeling. You could be a elf, an orc, a hobbit.
Most of the time, a hobbit.
Most of the time, a hobbit. Yeah, you probably bounce from elf to hobbit the most. Glamorous to don't even get out of your pajamas.
Eating all the food, having second breakfast.
Alright, I think that's it for now.
Okay.
Goodbye.